Casino Royale is Bond without the cheese. Hi guys, we're Second's Perspective. My name is Paul Weston, over there is Torrin McLaughlin, and today we will be doing a QQ for you on Casino Royale. We decided to do so because Spectre, the latest Bond movie, and probably the last one for Daniel Craig, will be coming out in about 2 weeks' time. So, as your guest, we'll be doing Quantum of Solace and Skyfall after this. But let's stick with this movie for now. So, Torin, why don't you
Yeah.
give us the
I mean,
information?
Daniel Craig's getting old, so this probably the next one will be his last. And Casino Royale is a cool one. It was released in 2006. It was his first, so Daniel Craig's first time starring as James Bond.
Mm.
The movie also stars Eva Green, Judi Dench, and Mads Mikkelsen as the bad guy. And in this one, which is harkens back to the 1967 Casino Royale, it's a remake and it's much better than that one. Is James Bond's first mission ever as a 007 operative for MI6. He's got to enter a high-stakes poker game against a financier of terrorism, which is Mads Mikkelsen, Le Chiffre, the number, and we follow him all over the world through various action sequences. There's credit titles, there's roles and guns and shooting and women and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
Paul,
it's
what do you think about this one? I think it's one of the better Bond movies.
yeah. I mean, we'll say it right away. Torn and I are not connoisseurs of Bond. I only have very faint memories of Pierre Brosnan. Is that how you say his name?
Cheers. Yeah.
Pierce. And so like we're basically coming from very sort of mild information on that kind of stuff. But I really enjoyed it, and I felt like this was a really good example of sort of rebooting a series for its time. Everyone's aware of the spy tropes that like Bond movies and all that stuff brought up, and it often just sees those or knows that we are aware they will come or has a potential to ruin the story, and they kind of just go, okay, we see it, and then they kind of kick it away and then do something a little more interesting. So that's something that's, I mean, it was that, and the fact that it became quite gritty. I mean, like, one of the very first things you see is Bond, like, smacking someone's head into a sink and breaking it and then drowning the guy. It's not some sort of, like, sneaky, shot with a pistol, right? Like, it's, the film was very self-aware of the sort of the canon of Bond, and it took it and it kind of spun it on its head. And yeah, I think for the most part it did really well.
Hmm.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I think the writing was self-conscious in a lot of ways. There's a lot of like taglines, shaken or stirred. I don't give a damn, where the movie calls self-conscious reference to itself, and it deviates from like the typical stock aspects of Bond films that you know and expect. Even if you haven't watched Bond films, the criticism of Bond is looms almost as large as Bond. So the female character here is strong and intelligent and challenges Bond in many different ways, and represents a significant part of his like development during the film, and for later episodes too, because this is the first. It matters very much, their relationship, and I think the movie does a really good job of negotiating that. The action sequences were great. I mean, I forgot about how big parkour was in 2006 until I watched this one. And there's a one action sequence where there's all sorts of like table jumping and like running over jumping over fences and that sort of thing. And I think characterizes Bond well, in the sense that you brought this up. We were talking about it earlier, and you said he's not always going to be the quickest or the best shot or anything, but he's industrious and he's willing to like run through a wall if he can't jump over it. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like very resourceful, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
they worked really hard in making this Bond um, believable, right?
Yeah.
Which is really
What do you
cool.
think about like any potential weaknesses of this film?
Um, Again, like this is a film that it did a pretty good job. Like, a lot of people were sort of pleasantly surprised of how good it was. The casting, it created a lot of controversy back then, and it was perfect. I love him. I love Daniel Craig. Again,
I love him.
yeah. The thing is, it's not a perfect film, right? Like, the scenes that don't work are they stick out like a pretty bad sore thumb. There's a scene or two with um, and there's a few scenes with the sheaf where I'm just sort of like, oh, I'm trying not to roll my eyes. But there are a
Yeah.
few like that. What about you? Was there anything in particular that was overly glaring?
I think it's interesting in terms of setting up the Bond's relation to MI6 in this one. It's something that we all already know. We've absorbed through the culture if we've seen how many movies or whatever. I think it could have been stronger, especially some scenes with M. That the relationship wasn't. It's always sort of this S&M relationship with M that's never consummated. You know, it's just like a power game. And I think they could have spent a little more time there. But other than that, yeah, a pretty good film.
Ultimately, great. And do you recommend, if they haven't seen this, would they see it, and would you recommend watching them again?
Right. I'd give it a B or a B plus. Probably a B. I would say if you're gonna go watch Spectre and you never saw this film, go watch this one. If you're gonna watch any to prepare for it, if you're interested in that, watch this one. And even if you have seen this one before, I think it's a good refresher because it represents his first mission and it does it well.
Yeah.
So B.
I'm almost the same. I'm going to give it a B plus. There were some pretty clever things that I think we might be taking granted for now that there are a few other Bonds, but like Bond was not in a great place, so it brought it back. It aged well. I would go see this again if you haven't, as a nice refresher, if you got the time, and if you have not seen this film, absolutely go see it. It gives a really good sort of feel for the rest of the films. Anyways, again, we're Second Perspective. Join us for the discussion on Casino Royale, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Take care, internets.